I think most of my life I felt like there was something missing. My parents, the way they reacted to me, like there was a part of me they didn't know, and I felt it. How do you mourn a father you've never met?
You want me to answer?
Yes.
Are you recording?
Yes.
I mean, I've been looking for my biological father for over 20 years. I found out when I was about 30 that my mother was artificially inseminated, and then I started becoming very curious about who my biological father was. I didn't have a great relationship with my father growing up, maybe because he knew that I wasn't his biologically, or maybe just because of the person he was. He was so different. I mean, I think we didn't grow up like a family unit. We were all kind of isolated in a way. I felt very different from the rest of my family. I felt like pretty much an alien in my own family, and I never understood why. And I think when I found out that my father wasn't my biological father, it kind of made a lot of sense to me, actually. So I was surprised, but not surprised. My father always seemed angry. I think my father had a lot of feelings about not being connected to us biologically. I think when you first accept donor sperm, you think it's like somebody donated their blood to you or something. Is like nothing. Even my mother was reacting to me like she didn't know where I came from. And then later on, after my parents divorced, my mother finally broke down and told us the truth. My brother and I were conceived with 2 separate donors, which explained a lot. And I wish we had felt comfortable enough with our dad to tell him that we knew, but we never did. But in the meantime, I really wanted to know who was this person that was missing from my life, who I came from. I mean, I was curious, and there was just no way to find out who he was. I mean, I thought at first, or my mother also thought, that it was the doctor himself that used his own sperm. So then I reached out to the doctor, and he'd already passed away. And then I reached out to his kids, but they didn't want to take a DNA test. So we hit a brick wall. There was no way to find out. And then I had this profound dream. I dreamt that there were 2 moons that disappeared. They weren't there anymore. And I was so sad because my daughter would never get to see those moons. And then I was told later on that those moons represented my 2 fathers, because I had the one father who wasn't talking to me anymore, and then the other father who I would never get to know. And those were my 2 fathers. When the DNA testing became popular, that's when I went on Ancestry and I had my DNA test taken. That's when somebody reached out, and it was a cousin, and he found me, Mark, and he was actually married to the woman who was related to me. And then I just asked him, was there anybody in the family who was a doctor who might have donated his sperm in the New York area? Because during that time, it was really just medical residents that were donating. And he said, I think I know who it is, because the entire family was from Boston, and there was only one of them who was a doctor in Manhattan and could have been donating. So it turned out to be Michael Ruttenberg. And he was a biochemist, and then went out to California to get his medical degree. And from what I heard, was donating a lot. So who knows how many siblings I have, but...
I said to her, you know, Jay, I think we found a new cousin, a daughter of Michael Ruttenberg. And I said, I'll explain it later when I come home that night.
And of course, I'm like, well, he didn't have any kids. What do you mean? And not, quite, remembering that he was a medical student.
Well, you didn't know about it.
I didn't even know donating sperm and all these things, which brought us you and, many others, which is wonderful that you've discovered. And it was just amazing.
though he didn't have any siblings himself, Michael, and he didn't have any children of his own, but you know by the number of centimorgans you have in common how you're related. So I was very closely related to his first cousin, and then I was related to people on his father's side and his mother's side.